Ever wondered what kind of brutal, ambitious origin story forged an empire that lasted over 1,000 years? We're cutting through the sanitized myths of Romulus and Remus today. You're about to discover the shocking, fratricidal truth behind Rome's founding. This isn't just ancient legend, it's the chilling blueprint for Roman power, still relevant to how empires operate even right now. Most people recall a sweet fairy tale image, twin babies, a she-wolf, a brotherhood building something great. But that simplistic view misses everything. It completely overlooks the deep injustice, the ruthless ambition, and the cold-blooded murder at Rome's true origin. If you ignore these dark truths, you'll never grasp the ruthless DNA embedded in every Roman conquest, every political maneuver, every brutal decision. You'll see a powerful empire, but you won't understand why it was so powerful and what it was truly built upon. This isn't just history, it's a critical study in the anatomy of power itself. So let's peel back the layers. Our story begins with usurpation. Numitor, the rightful king of Alba Longa, was overthrown by his ambitious brother, Amulius. Amulius murdered Numitor's sons, forcing his daughter, Rhea Silvia, into becoming a Vestal virgin. This was a calculated move. No children, no threat to his stolen power. But fate, as it often does, had a brutal twist. Despite her sacred vows, Rhea Silvia conceived, claiming the war god Mars as the father. The twins, Romulus and Remus, were born. Fearing a challenge, Amulius ordered them drowned in the Tiber River, a cruel, decisive act. Yet miraculously, the basket carrying the infants drifted ashore. This wasn't gentle abandonment, it was a death sentence defied. And here's the iconic turn. They were found and famously nursed by a she-wolf, Lupa, a symbol of primal survival. A shepherd, Faustulus, eventually discovered and raised them as his own. These boys grew up strong, natural leaders, unaware of their royal blood. But their true lineage would not stay hidden. As young men, their innate leadership drew them into conflict, ultimately leading them back to Alba Longa. There, they finally learned their identity, grandsons of the deposed king Numitor. This wasn't a heartwarming reunion, it was a spark for vengeance. They rallied supporters, overthrew Amulius, and restored their grandfather to the throne. But don't mistake this for a happy ending. For Romulus and Remus, this triumph only fueled their own relentless ambition. They didn't want Alba Longa. They craved their own legacy, their own city, right where they'd been miraculously saved. They chose a site near the Tiber, a collection of 7 hills, destined to become the heart of an empire. But this shared dream quickly soured. Here's where the brutal reality of power truly manifests. The brothers argued fiercely over the exact location, and crucially, who would rule. They sought divine guidance through augury, interpreting the flight of birds. Remus saw 6 vultures over the Aventine Hill. Romulus, however, claimed a superior omen, 12 vultures over the Palatine Hill. Each was convinced his divine favor was greater. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a clash of wills, a zero-sum battle for absolute authority. The tension exploded. Romulus began building his city wall around the Palatine Hill. Remus, in an act of defiant mockery, leaped over the unfinished wall, ridiculing its height. This wasn't a prank. It was a direct, profound challenge to Romulus's authority and the sanctity of his nascent city. And Romulus's response was swift, merciless, and utterly defining. In a fit of pure rage, Romulus killed his own brother. The message was unmistakable. So perish every one that shall hereafter leap over my walls. This wasn't just fratricide. It was a cold, brutal declaration. Rome would be built on absolute, unquestionable power. Its borders, its laws, its leader, it all was supreme. From this moment, the city had a singular, undisputed founder. Romulus continued building his city, naming it Rome. But a city needs citizens, and initially Rome was a haven for outcasts, runaways, and exiles, not exactly a stable founding population. This led to another controversial, decisive act, the notorious rape of the Sabine women. Romulus organized games, invited neighboring tribes, and then his men abducted their women. A brutal, pragmatic move to secure wives and ensure the city's future, even if it meant war. It proved once again Rome's foundational willingness to achieve its goals by any means necessary. This wasn't just a story, it was the chilling blueprint for Roman pragmatism and ambition that would echo for centuries. Now, you might dismiss this as just a colorful myth, but for the Romans, this legend was their foundational charter. Emperors, generals, and politicians for over 1,000 years looked to Romulus as the ultimate example. His ruthlessness, his ambition, his willingness to sacrifice even family for the city. These weren't flaws, they were celebrated virtues. Consider Roman expansion, the Punic Wars, the brutal civil wars. All of it echoes that initial act. This legend justified their conquests, their subjugation of others, their internal purges. It provided an unshakable narrative. Rome was destined for greatness, and any brutality was simply part of that destiny. This isn't just history, it's a profound insight into the psychology of an empire built on absolute, unyielding power. So the legend of Romulus and Remus isn't a simple tale of brotherhood. It's a raw, violent origin story that perfectly encapsulates the Roman spirit. Ambitious, pragmatic, and utterly ruthless when it came to power and state survival. It's a chilling reminder that great power often emerges from foundational violence. Don't just dismiss these myths as irrelevant. Understand them. They hold the key to understanding the deep roots of how empires form, how leaders consolidate power, and why certain sacrifices are made. This isn't just ancient history. It's a template for power dynamics that resonate even today, in 2025, in the struggles we see globally. If you want to understand how Rome then scaled this ruthless ambition into a global empire and the specific strategies they used to dominate their neighbors for centuries, then you absolutely need to watch our next video. We break down the revolutionary military tactics of the early Roman Republic and how they turned a small city-state into an unstoppable force. Click the link on screen or find it in the description right now to dive deeper and truly grasp the Roman phenomenon.